Alright guys, I just thought I'd warn you, a bit like the last time, I didn't really plan this video as I usually do. I was working on something this afternoon and I just started talking, so I thought I'd put it out. And sorry it's not that professional, I lose my place a bit and stuff, but if you're interested, enjoy the vid. Alright guys, this afternoon I've been working on a kind of tech house, deep house type track. And since you all proved to me last time that you don't just listen to dubstep, I thought I'd show you what I'm up to with this, and specifically look at some kind of techno-y sort of tech house style percussion that I've been making with Ultrabeat, because it shows off 3 different ways that Ultrabeat can generate sound, and I think it's a cool way to look at a few of the different types of sounds that Ultrabeat can make, which are obviously pretty much limitless. So I'll play you the kind of beat that I've been working with, and it's got these like nice percussion bits in, so have a listen. So I'll take you through, there's 3 particular percussion bits I wanted to show you which are quite common sounds in tech house type stuff, and I wanted to show you each of those, so let's go through them one by one. First up, we've got this kind of woodblock beep type sound. So this is the simplest of all the sounds I've made of these 3 sounds, and it looks like this in Ultrabeat. Basically it uses the normal phase oscillator, so it's just like using a sine wave pretty much, although I've dialed in a little bit of saturation and a little bit of asymmetry, which is being modulated by an envelope. The saturation control basically turns your sine wave into a square wave, so the asymmetry control, on the other hand, turns your sine wave into a saw wave. So by sort of using a little bit of each of those, I'm making the sine wave a little bit harsher, a few more harmonics on the top. It's got a really short envelope. By the way, I'm not going to sort of go into real depth on all of Ultrabeat. SF Logic Ninja's got a really good video on the basics of Ultrabeat, so you should take a look at that. I'll put a link in the description. But basically it works like a normal synth. There's 3 oscillators here, there's a filter and distortion section, there's an output, and there's some modulators. But things like the envelopes and stuff mean that it's really well suited to making percussive sounds. So yeah, we've got this phase oscillator, which is set at a pitch of A sharp. I like to tune these sort of percussive hits to the track because it makes them part of a kind of harmonic groove, which I really like. The other aspect of this sound is a noise element at the start of the sound. Without the phase oscillator, it's quite quiet obviously, but noise when you're making percussion is one of the best ways to sort of give an attack to your sound. So if you use an envelope on the volume of the noise, I've got envelope 3 set up, which is quite a short sort of clicky envelope, that can put a sort of click at the start of your sound, and depending on how you set your envelopes up, a lot of percussive sounds have some noise elements in them, particularly at the start, the attack of the sound. So that's why I've used that, and it just gives it a little bit more of a click sound and makes it sound more like a percussion, piece of percussion. One of the great things about Ultrabeat's noise oscillator is that it's got its own built-in filter. So I've high-passed the noise to make it sure it's that top click that I get, and then it's also being filtered a second time. All the oscillators in Ultrabeat can be either run through the filter or bypass it, which is again really useful. So the phase oscillator is bypassing the filter because that lights off, and the noise is going into the filter. Let's have a look at the next sound. Oh, by the way, it's also got some pan modulation on, which is a really cool way you can, it's being, basically the pan of the sound is being modulated with LFO1, and that means that the sound sort of moves around a little bit in the stereo field, which stops it from becoming too sort of stale and sterile. Actually, before I move on to the next sound, I just wanted to show you some automation. This this thing's playing quite a repetitive sort of. It's playing quite a repetitive pattern, and if you just leave that pattern where it is, it can get really sort of boring and kind of start to grate on you a bit. So I think it's really important to modulate a bit with these sounds, and it really brings them to life. So one of the great things about Ultrabeat, you can see I've done some crazy modulation. One of the great things about Ultrabeat is most of the stuff on every single voice is modulatable. Is automatable. So I mean, there's just endless kind of possibility here. You can completely change the sound through modulation, through automation. Sorry, and but particularly with percussive sounds like this, my instant thing that I go to automate and change is the decay. That changes the sort of length of the sound, how long it takes to decay, how long it takes to fade out. So I've done a bit of a quick job here. I'm going to work on this more, but I thought I'd show you that. There's also this is the same track, and I've made right-clicked on it to create, select and arrange track. So I don't know if you guys know how to output Ultrabeat voices to their own separate tracks, but basically in Ultrabeat, in this output section, you choose an output. I've chosen a stereo output 3 and 4, and then you basically click this plus button, and these are now separate tracks which you can apply effects to individually, but they're sort of attached to the Ultrabeat, and all the MIDI gets played on the Ultrabeat track. So if you want to then automate aspects of these plugins, these aux things don't actually come up on the arrange page automatically. You have to right click and choose create, select and arrange. So on this one, I've done that, and I've also automated some of the reverb, so the send to the reverb. These two automations, decay and sends to reverb, with percussive sounds like this in tech and house and stuff, are so common, and it's part of the sort of classic sound of these things. So you can hear it sort of moving into a bigger space, or at least more of the sound getting sent to this reverb. The next sound is a kind of is using one more thing. Sorry, before I move on from that sound, I've used a Guitar Amp Pro to give it some distortion, which again just gives it a bit more bite. And you can use the amp designer, the new amp designer on Logic, but I'm still quite a big fan of this for an effect, especially on things like percussion. And I use it on bass as well sometimes, so that's good. Next up, we've got this FM sort of sound, which is kind of sounds almost realistic, like someone hitting a tabla or something right at the edge with their finger. This is another way you can generate sounds in Ultrabeat, as well as the phase oscillator. It's got FM here on oscillator 1. What that does is, I'm not going to explain frequency modulation to you now, but if you Google it, you'll learn about that. Oscillator 2 is frequency modulating oscillator 1. And the reason that oscillator 2's volume is all the way down is that I don't want to hear this. I only want to hear the effect it has on oscillator 1. And as well, the effect will only become apparent when you turn up the FM amount, so you can actually see the waveform graphical display of that. What I've done is I've got it right at 0, but it's being modulated up with an envelope. So those FM sort of high frequency sounds will... There we go. Jeez, that took a long time. I'll probably cut that out later. So yes, if I change the pitch of these two, or this one as well, I can get really cool different changes to the sound. And again, like, one of the major reasons I've chosen to do it the way I have done it is that it is in key with the rest of the track. Once again, I've used a little bit, made this into a, I've outputted it to its own output. I've put some stereo delay on it, and I've create, select and arrange track. and it's up here on the arrange page. So what I've done is I've got the mix of this stereo delay at 0 for both, or for the most part, and then I've modulated that mix. So that creates that sort of the sudden sort of delays in different sides of the stereo field. So again, it's just to create interest and change the space, and once again I think that's the sort of thing that really brings these sounds to life. The final bit of tech percussion I've got has no effects on it whatsoever. It's using the physical modeling possibilities of oscillator 2. So again, this has got a phase oscillator just like the top oscillator 1. You can play samples, obviously, which is pretty key for importing your own drum samples into Ultrabeat, but it's also got this physical model, which is really basically a tiny little section of sculpture. If you've ever worked with sculpture, you'll notice that this material pad's exactly the same. So from sculpture, I know that up here in the top left you get nylon-y plastic sounds. That's with a high inner loss and a low stiffness. Down here you get metallic sounds. Then you get glassy sounds down here, and I've chosen a sort of woody sound. However, I have used the bit crusher within Ultrabeat, and the bit crusher really gives some high-end fizz to the sound, and it's made it a little bit more glassy than it would have been otherwise. So I programmed the I've programmed a very short loop. You can change the length of the loop you make in Ultrabeat by dragging this, and I programmed a single bar loop because techno and house really often have these very short sort of repetitive loops. Oh. Really important to use different velocities, or again it'll sound very robotic, and I mean I want it to sound a bit robotic but sound really boring. So really important to use different velocities on some of these sounds. And then all I did was I dragged that pattern from Ultrabeat using this little square here. So once you've created your pattern in Ultrabeat, you can drag it into the arrange page like that. And when you've done that, you want to turn the sequencer off, because otherwise it will be playing the sequence twice. And I've done a few variations and stuff. So like I say, I hope that's been useful for some of you guys, for some ways to make kind of techie percussion. Hopefully it'd be useful even if you're not into making this kind of genre of stuff, but and it's just got a simple bass line. I've been working on, like I say, working on this for an hour or two this afternoon, so I'll play what I've got so far, and hopefully I'll build it out into a full track later on. But I hope that's been useful, or it's given you some ideas for some cool kind of techie percussion sounds. So I'll play it out, as Conan O'Brien would say. Or I'll try to, without having things soloed. It's just a sine wave, this. But damn, it sounds good. FM8. With a bit of auto filter on it. That weird lead sound came from Sculpture. I love Sculpture. These are a Rhodes sample reversed. that's where I'm up to. I'll probably build it out into a full track later, and then get bored of it and abandon it like I usually do. Anything else? Oh yeah, by the way, I'm really into doing this at the moment. Rhodes, finding samples of Rhodes or Wurlitzer's playing, like from jazz or something like that, and then reversing it. It's got a nice sound. If you've got any ideas for what I should do with this track, post them in the comments, and if I ever get anywhere with it, I will. I don't know, I'll probably put it up on YouTube, or I might even put the project up for download on my site, just if anyone's interested. So, thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.